Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. We should be live, so hopefully people can start hearing us now. We'll just give people a few seconds to jump in chat. Actually, there's 16 people already in watching the video, so that's awesome.
Nice.
Chris Kerr jumping in with a happy birthday, Joe. I should pop all the birthday messages up today for sure. So if you didn't know, it's DePinto's birthday special. Watson just jumped in. Hello, Paul. How's it going?
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Welcome,
Look,
welcome.
Yeah, so let us know what you are up to this evening and coming into chat. So tonight's going to be, we're not really going to do, thanks, Chris. We're not really going to, Zach's also here. We're not going to do a full up, like, typical episode. As I said, it's birthday special for Joe. So we're just going to kind of shoot the breeze here, talk mostly droids tonight, I think. We've been playing a lot of droids each. So I think Joe wants to talk a little bit about formations and what he's doing with them. I'll talk a little bit about what I'm doing with droids, and of course we got a big reveal. We'll probably do that in about 5 minutes or so. Let people jump in. We got a big birthday gift for Joe this evening, so you guys will be excited to see that, and we'll kind of talk about what it means for Legion Academy as well. So we got Dan's in here with a happy birthday, Joe. Let me pop this up here. There's Dan's happy birthday.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
Jason
Jace,
with a
thank you.
happy birthday. Paul's in with a happy birthday. Mike's in with a
Thank
happy
you.
birthday.
Thank
Jeez,
you.
making Joe feel more special than he usually does. So,
Come on.
oh shucks, look at that. So awesome.
Thanks, guys.
So what's new, Joe? What has happened in the Legion world for you?
All right, so I am trying to get ready for the Game Storm Prime Championship this weekend. I believe we had 32. We now potentially have 31. It's the biggest Legion event we've ever hosted at our store. So we actually had to rent a room at the banquet hall next door to put the rest of the tables in. So
Nice.
we're really excited about the turnout. It's awesome. I think as of today that there's one spot left now. So if anyone is thinking about signing up or coming out for that, contact the Game Storm page or the store or Jeff Arney for more information. But I've been painting up my droids to get them ready for that, and I'm
Right.
done with my whole entire block of droids finally. So that's what I've been doing, basically.
Zach's asking you if you got 34, but I think you're actually in the 54 club. Are you not?
Oh yeah, I think it's closer to. It's like three core sets worth, so it's like 54. Yeah,
Yeah, he's
54
in.
droids.
Yeah,
Yep.
nice. 54 droids. After 34, 54 is no stretch. So you just you fall into a groove. So for sure.
Yep.
And just going back to the rally point, so I've been to GameStorm Wicked Store. I've seen the extra location, super convenient, and I really enjoyed my time there. So I think anybody who's going out, I'm not able to make this one because it's really tight to LVO for me. So to fly to Chicago and then like basically 2 weeks later fly to LVO is just doesn't work out for me in terms of days off. So I mean, if I was unemployed or had a different job. I'm working in
Right.
schools. I mean,
Come on.
we barely get any days off. I mean, geez. So I can't complain. So
No,
uh,
but seriously, thanks for coming out to the last one, and thanks for hyping up the store. It's going to be great. We've got guys coming from Wisconsin, Indiana, St. Louis, the Southern Illinois area that I know of for sure, bringing tables and stuff, helping us out. So it's like a big event. We're all coming together in the Midwest for it. I think there's also a Louisville or like another prime happening that same day. It's good. So that'll be a big weekend for tournaments for
I
Legion. So
yeah,
that's cool.
I think I heard on Stabcast. I think they said there's. I'm not exactly sure, but I think there is one going on January 11th. And I feel like maybe there's even one in the New York or Buffalo area. I think maybe happening
Yeah,
that same
I wouldn't
weekend.
be surprised if they're just knocking a bunch out the weekends leading up to, we only have like 2 months left before Worlds, so
Right.
that's good. Yeah, I heard Al Paz is making the drive down to I think the Louisville one.
Al Paz on the
So
RPQ Prime World Tour here.
Al, go represent us, make us proud out there with the Stabcast boys.
I think there's an RPQ in Tasmania, and Al's gonna make that one. Then probably swinging down to like the lower lands, and then probably up through Scandinavia, Siberia. I should just actually hold an RPQ here, and just see if Al shows up.
I think next time me and Al are actually going to drive to the Australian RPQ.
Yeah, fair.
So yeah,
Well,
that's right. You heard it. Drive. We'll
yeah,
see
put
how
up
we fare doing that.
just put out some fires while you're there because it's
Yeah.
super devastating. Actually, I've seen some Canadian firefighters making their way over there actually right now as
Yeah.
well. So Ethan came in with a happy level up day for you.
You?
So you one upped today, and then Dave's in with the greetings, and Boise this weekend. Dan saying they have a tournament as well. So
Nice, nice. There you go. So there's a lot of big tournaments all over the country. This would be a big weekend. It's awesome.
yeah, for sure. I don't have any tournaments until LVO, so I'm just gonna try to decide on a list and maybe do some practice here. And then LJ is in. Welcome, LJ. He says
Hey,
that
LJ.
SoCal has one this weekend, and Northern California one as well. Yeah, lots of he's
Nice.
saying lots of tournaments happening all over the place this
That's
coming
good.
weekend. So yeah, so we'll see. It'll be nice to see if we have some consistency in terms of what's taking all these different these rally points or prime, or I guess they're all rally points or primes, whatever they're using
Primes,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, primes.
Primes.
It'd be interesting to see kind of what's taking them, if there's any consistency across the country, or if local metas are sort of more dominant in particular areas over
Yeah.
others. So see,
That's fun because that's kind of like a micro view into what we could expect at Worlds or even LVO. So, yeah,
Ethan
that's
coming
cool.
in. Ethan's coming in with a hot take, saying that spoiler alert: Tauntauns will do well. I don't want to be the purveyor of any speculation here, Ethan. So I'm not sure if we can endorse that statement or not. But
Hey.
we're gonna put it up on our channel here anyway. So yeah.
Yeah.
You mean Tauntauns? Yeah, that is
Yeah.
correct. Tauntauns will do well. There's a ton of people in chat, Joe. 22, 25, 27. Numbers fluctuating here. So,
Nice. Welcome everyone.
yeah, welcome. So, as if you haven't heard or you didn't know, it's Joe's birthday. So, if you're in chat, make sure you give him a big shout out. Thumbs up too if you like the cast. We've been really working hard on getting the studio space, fine tuned, working on our streams. I'll put a plug in now. I'll probably say it several times tonight. So, we are. Hey, Bob's joining us late. No worries. If you are just joining us or haven't heard about us, on Friday nights, we're doing a Friday night kind of under the lights thing now. Every Friday, we're going to do some stream games. We're going to stick with 500 here for the first little bit. We ran a game last week. We're going to run one again this coming week. So Fridays around, 7 o'clock-ish, we'll jump on. We'll do like a 90-minute game, and then we'll do a little bit of a redux afterwards with the players. So come on. And there's going to be players of all calibers too. So some that have been to tournaments, some who have never, some are new to games. Tournament players playing new guys, so you'll see a smattering. So if you are just joining the game, don't feel that you're going to be well behind the learning curve that you're going to see on here. So
Definitely.
yeah.
And then we'll talk about it in a little bit when we talk more about droids, but I'll show you a little preview of what I've got in the works in terms of our potential 800 point stuff as well down the line. So
Okay.
all right.
Well, is it time or what?
I think it's time.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
excited.
Let's preface this by you're basically looking at the better part of like 7 days of my life, and by 7 days I mean 7 days of like 15. I don't know how many messages Joe can probably go show you on this phone. How many times I tell him like just finished up working. It's 3:30 a.m. Just finished working. It's 4 a.m. Back to work. It's 7:30 a.m. So
Flashbacks of the lead up to the Game Storm RPQ.
oh, jeez, yeah. This was self-inflicted for sure, but no, truthfully. So what I basically wanted to do is I had the studio space. I finished up one side. We've been filming games. I wanted to kind of open the space up so that I can have wider camera angles. Yeah, Sheldon with the drum roll. Wider camera angles, just so I can incorporate, make it feel a little bit more professional, finished. Professional is a loose word, but a little bit more, professional looking, if you will. And so I had this idea. idea. I posed it to Joe. He was on board. I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to do it for your birthday, and we'll make the reveal on your birthday. So let me swap camera angles over here, let you guys take it in. We'll answer any questions, any of that stuff. Definitely let us know what you think about it, what you feel about it, and let's swap over. So the new studio space, other than the one behind me, is right there.
Whoa, a Death Star.
It's a Death Star. So this is our new studio space here. So it's 100% crafted. It's nothing, no paint, no green screen. Built all the walls to just sort of finish the space, make it look good, make it feel Star Warsy, and really kind of close in the studio. So the studio is getting pretty big. This is just the filming section here. There's another space over there, twice the size, and that's where we do all the work. But I was super happy. A couple things about this. It's 98%, and I'll explain kind of what the 2% is. This is 98% made using nothing but hands, knives, and rulers. So no power tools, no foam cutter. I used a foam cutter for one series of cuts. And it was just because the bevels are really hard to maintain over a long distance, but everything here was handcrafted. I've done a lot of work on the Patreon about this. I'm going to do some more, so if you're not on the Train Studio Patreon, you can go check it out. This is not a funded project. This was just a fun thing for me, but truthfully I wanted to make it for Joe's birthday, be a nice cool gift. We're both going to get traction out of this. I'm going to walk just around here so you guys can see the space. You probably will be able to hear me. I want to show you a couple cool things. One being the access panel. So let me swap cameras here. I can't see chat, so I will pop back over and answer any questions. So hopefully you guys can hear me well. So like I said, it's all built out of foam. Everything is secured to the walls. The interior of the door here, so this is replicating a blast door. So the lower portion is the actual blast door, and the upper portion I left for fire reasons, so that it can still get out if any of this were to ever catch fire. Hopefully it will never do that. But the interior of the door is all done as well, so you can kind of see the lock mechanisms there in there. The grating, these are all real grates, and it goes floor to ceiling, so all the way up to the ceiling. I'm going to kill the lights here so you guys can see some more of the ambiance, but all the panels, all of these light panels were all cut by hand, including all the scallops. So like I said, the only cut I did with the foam cutter was just this groove here to make the door look to have these panels in here. We also have an access panel over here just in case you ever need to log in. So what you need to do is you need to punch in your access code. It's secret, so you can't know it, and then you got to do your handprint to get through the door. So just a really cool novelty item. It has absolutely no purpose other than looking cool. So and then this is our gaming space here. This is where we're kind of filming. There's a camera that sits on the overhead. It goes here. The players have access to all their tools and everything here. It's just off camera. We got our our green screen dice cam here, and some players kind of have nice comfort sitting in here. So let me just kill some lights just for a second so you guys can get a sense of what this place looks like with the glow effect.
And we're getting a question that's saying, Sean, how many Geonosians did you have helping you?
The answer is actually none. I'm just going to kill the lights here just for 1 second so the glow effect comes out a little bit stronger for you guys. So there you go. You guys can. It's obviously designed to be quite dark and dim, just to give you that Death Star feel. So I'll put one of these lights on so you guys can see at least a little bit here. There you go. So that should light up most of that space for you. So just a really, really fun space. Let me jump back in chat here real quick so I can see. Holy smokes, there's a lot of questions.
Punching in your access codes.
Yeah.
Intel's going right to the boss.
Yeah, you bet. So the answer is I killed no.
Looks incredible.
No Geonosians were harmed in the filming of this or the making of this space. However, this was a solo endeavor, and probably the most challenging part was just making the panels and doing the dry fit. So I probably assembled and disassembled this space probably close to 30 times just in order to get it looking just right, because I had to have everything fit. It's a big space. If you want to know about the space, it's 2, 4, 6, 8. It's 10 feet, 12 feet-ish on one side by about 12 on the other. So quite a bit of foam. I think it was 17 full sheets to get that done, and I think all said and done, there was 62 individual pieces to get it all finished there. So what do we have in here? How many Genie Oceans? That was from Crabuck, by the way. Awesome, Paul. Thank you very much. Yeah, fair enough. He saw the access code. Got it. And yeah, no Imperial code cylinders required for this one. We actually we got the secret access codes here. So let me just pop back over to Joe and I just hanging out here as well. So that's we'll bring you guys back in. So if you're just coming in, you want to see that again. Oh, let me bring it back over. There's a couple more questions. So good question from Chris. He's asking, how did I attach that to the wall? Well, I'll have you know that there was 120 command strips used in this build. And happy birthday coming in from Keith. Yeah, so it's all actually adhered with command strips. And the reason I did that is I wanted to have them eventually removable if I ever needed to do anything to the walls in itself. I didn't want to damage the panels. I didn't want to have to glue things, anything like that. So it's all up with command strips. It's way more than you need. I think each panel probably weighs 2 or 3 pounds, and I probably use the equivalent of about 80 pounds worth of command strips. So I'm confident that nothing's falling off at any point. So, but really just a fun space we can film. Thank you. Got some things coming in here, Barbie. Thank you. Just some fun spaces for players to be. We have a lot of new players come to the studio and playing here for the first time, so we want to make them feel kind of like it's a cool place to be, a place to come back to, a place to play. So and then for Legion Academy purposes, we want to be able to film tutorials and how-tos and interviews and player games and all that, and it's just going to look a little bit nicer if we have a nice cool space for everyone to be in and everyone to hang out. So
thank you for the birthday wishes, everyone, and I'm so happy to know that the Legion Academy is now a physical place.
Yeah, this is literally the Legion Academy, so you can come here and learn things. Maybe you don't learn how to play the game, but you learn other cool things if you want to know how to make your own Death Star. So I was joking with my wife and saying that when people want to make things look a little bit nicer, they put paint on the walls. But right. I'm not that type of person, so I definitely wanted to go a little bit beyond just paint. I did paint the walls, but I just happened to do a little bit more stuff on there. So Joe Clark in with a happy birthday here, saying studio looks sick. Joe's a local, so he can definitely come hang out for sure.
Awesome.
And
I have to say, I don't undersell yourself, man. The build videos that Sean sent me, I mean, literally everything you see there was traced out with a ruler and hand cut with a knife. It was like insane watching that. I couldn't believe how much work Sean put in, and it clearly looks incredible.
Yeah, it's maybe hard to get in this particular image. We'll share some more stuff for sure, but I went off a reference photo and I almost to a T, I tried to replicate everything. I scaled out the photo to make sure every groove, distance wise, was accurate. I scaled it up to make sure I had the right number of lights per panel, and the venting is pretty darn close, minus that long panel. It needed to be about 4 inches longer. It's just the one that I found and it fit, so I kind of went with that. The coolness of this is just I think everything together looks really sharp. Every piece individually was kind of like its own task. So I just worked panel by panel. I did take a break between the light panels because they are and they take about 3 hours a panel to cut. And that's just the cutting, so cutting and drawing out the lines. So it was definitely a task, but it was a pretty fun labor, and I was working super hard to get it done for Monday to launch for you guys. I mean, I wanted to have it for Joe's birthday, of course, but truthfully, we're only doing this work because we want to have Legion Academy Terrain Studio, looking as cool as we possibly can. So,
absolutely.
What do you got here? Uh, I'm just gonna pop comments up here. You must have the most patient, understanding wife. Absolutely the best. And Keith says your wife must be awesome and to allow this. This is awesome. Hey, I'm also awesome too, Keith. Keith's another local guy here. Um, okay, yeah, fair enough. Chris is saying his fam's in Point Cook and they're having delays as well. I must have missed something in chat about that. Um, Chris says he probably just showed you with 17 pieces of foam. Yeah, yeah, fair enough. I should put up the photo of where I started. It's just it's me at Home Depot with 17 stack sheets of foam sitting on a cart. So Dan's saying thank you, Dan's talking about being talented. That's great. Okay, and does the studio have a soundtrack on repeat? Imperial elevator music. Hey, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I like that.
That is a good idea. We should get that. So we'll incorporate a few other things. We got some LED lights going on here. The next spot is really to kind of expand and put another film location just farther over. We probably won't end up doing the walls, but we definitely want to expand because I really like this 3x3 setup that we have. We can expand this to a 3x6 for sure, but I think the ultimate goal is to actually just set up a dedicated 6x3 space. And then we could actually have both games going on simultaneously, and we'll be able to film both. So what I do with the Patreon for the Train Studio gets reinvested entirely. Everyone who follows me on there definitely knows what it is that I'm doing, what it is I'm doing with the funds that go through there. This wasn't a side project. I actually asked my patrons if they didn't mind if I didn't put out a tutorial for the end of the month and instead did this. So they were obliging and said it was a good idea. And so there we go. So I'm back on track with the tutorials now, but this was a nice 7-day aside project. I actually can't believe I got it done as quickly as I can, but that happens when you are working long hours, I guess. So
totally, yeah,
cool.
It's insane, man. It's great.
Happy birthday, Joe. I know
Thank
you really
you.
I know you really want to start Killer Base, but
Hey,
you'll have.
This one's almost as good.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, consolation prize. There you go.
Thank you so much. It looks great, Sean. You did an awesome job, man.
Cool. Well, hopefully, yeah, that's awesome. Well, hopefully people enjoy that. They can come check out the chats or the watch this later on. But we do have 31 people hanging out, so thanks for coming out. It's all about DePinto and his birthday bash today. So Joe is 11 years old today. So
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So he's some there's some quotes that we can throw in there for sure, but he probably we'll just keep it PG for now. We'll keep it PG. Awesome. All right, so we have kind of a droid theme tonight. So how much did you invest? Holy, that's a good question. I don't actually mind telling you. I've put it on my Patrons. Believe it or not, that whole project was just under the $700 mark. So and people may think that's high. Maybe you think that's a pretty good price. I think just investing, that's no time, but it's an investment because I think it's going to pay dividends down the road. So we do things. I just sort of slight aside here, Joe. So slight mantra for me for the studio is I'm really under the build it they'll come kind of mentality as opposed to constantly looking for handouts and things like that. I do this because I like it. We do this podcast because we like it. We're investing in the cameras, the lights because we know that you guys like when we're doing content. So our payback comes in the viewers, the 30 people hanging out with us tonight. It's definitely it's an investment for us, but it's an investment that we're hoping has some reciprocal effects. So yep,
totally.
Yep. Okay, so that's awesome. Pop Mechanics is in here, and he says he should see how he's perfectly crafted Hoth in his backyard. So yeah, I also have a Hoth backyard too. So yeah, mine's got a lot of Tauntaun droppings in it actually. So it's just it's not a safe place to be. So
yeah.
Okay, and then sure. So we'll jump into here. But Kravix actually got a question for you here. What's on your wish list for news from FFG anytime soon? And are you hoping for anything in particular? So Joe, we might as well take that.
What am I looking for? I think that I would just like to see the 2 new factions get their full roster of logical things, such as special forces and supports.
Yep.
Get those units fleshed out. I don't know what I've been watching a lot of Clone Wars, so I don't even want to speculate because there's so many choices and it could be anything. I just want more Clone Wars stuff because I'm playing the two new factions right now and loving it, and just I want more and more and more and more and more. So all of it from the Clone Wars.
Yep.
What about you, Sean?
Just a tank or three.
Yeah, 100%.
I
So okay, this I don't want to interrupt you, but we're gonna show something later here in a little bit, and the tank would be perfectly suited for it.
agreed. Agreed.
But go on.
So you guys know I'm working on my droids too, and I'm doing a gray themed, kind of like kind of my droids and my armor are going to be kind of after German World War II armor, and so I'm kind of using those grays and things like that. So I really want to make my tanks look very much like World War II German armor. I'm buying three tanks no matter what, because I know I can't field three, but I'm waiting for the time when I can build out a display, build out a diorama, and I can definitely have the tanks cresting over. I want to have a tank completely plowed in the mud with the bent barrel, and eventually when we get Gungans, if we ever do, I'm hopeful, have a Gungan swinging from the barrel. I'm really whenever I hear unit announcements, I immediately go to how can I make this look really cool. Actually, you know what? I need to go grab something because I want to stream something. I don't have a picture of it, but let me go grab it. So Joe entertain the masses. I'm going to put us back on this one. There you go.
All right. Well, there's another look at the Death Star. But yeah, basically, right now I'm in a position with my droids where I have all of my droids painted, but I don't have them based. And that's my new dilemma that I keep going back and forth on, is how am I going to base them? And as I'm watching the show again, getting hyped for February 17th, the tentative date for the new season of Clone Wars, I'm changing my mind every few minutes about how I want to do it. So that's all I'm saying. But Sean, what do you got for us? What
Okay.
you go get?
So,
All
so some guys work in the studio also do some painting for me when we're not busy. So, truthfully, part of this whole Death Star build came because idle hands are not good for me. Like when I have time, mine starts racing. So, I got to build that Kashyyyk table next. But the Death Star was a slight aside. But however, the bros, Chris and Donovan, did some wicked painting for me. So, if you guys know, I have an Imperial Army, and it's really got that orange, white, black theme. It's the studio colors. And so I wanted to have some more models to kind of stick in line with that. So they just done me up, and you'll appreciate this, Joe. They did up a Palpatine, and the Palpatine is in the white and gold color. So here he is. I just want to see if I can get this to focus on this camera here. Oh, there we go. Perfect. I don't have the close cam set up, but let me just keep it. Find the sweet spot. There we go.
There you go. Palpatine looking like the Popatine.
Yeah, this is definitely the Popatine. So
that's what I love it.
So he's I just got to do the basing up just so it'll be in the rune style. So that's one. Then they came rock solid and brought me through one of these.
Oh, Celebration Vader.
Celebration Vader, yes.
Beautifully done. Nice object source lighting there on the cloak.
Yeah. Definitely love it. Definitely loving this. So this is a kind of traditional style Vader done up, red saber, all that stuff. So then I had hobbied up this a while ago, basically when the core set came out, and so this is very much it's another Vader, and then this is with my my orange and black theme coming through. So,
oh yeah, awesome.
So we have a force choked out.
Looks like almost like a Captain Antilles or Fleet Trooper.
Exactly.
Or someone.
Yeah, definitely modeled after the movies. So
awesome.
Yeah, so I had hobbied this up a long time ago, and I wanted to kind of go with my theme. So what we did is we went orange orange vest on the Fleet Trooper to tie that orange in, and then Vader actually has an orange saber in this one here, just to kind of give that tie that whole look in there. So.
Looks beautiful.
Yes, so I was really, really happy to get those. So there'll be three models in time for Ob Vader.
I gotta say, Vader looks awesome, and he's really nicely converted by being in that pose with that open hand like that. It's like he's begging for a model to be choked in his hand. and
Yeah.
that's just like a beautiful example. Yeah,
So
that's a fun thing.
I did some heat on this one just to get the hand open, and then what I did is
Yes.
I had to relax the Fleet Trooper's body. So I tipped the head up, and then I just basically slumped everything down, and then I just put the feet together just for a little bit more balance. So it actually helps the model stay up by having the feet closed in as opposed to a wider stance. So yeah,
Awesome.
I really love this, and I was waiting for it to get done, and I just couldn't quite think about what color scheme. But I'm glad. And the Fleet Trooper looks a little bit different than most, but really ties in that orange theme with an otherwise black model. So they did awesome.
Looks
So
beautiful.
yeah, I'm all about the conversions, a little less about the
Me
painting,
too.
but yeah, that's yeah. As you can see, Joe was joking with me, and he said that he had painted all his 54 droids, and I joked and I said, well, I painted the equivalent of 36,714 droids with this Death Star here. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you beat me. You got
yeah.
me.
Yeah,
But
this is what a half a gallon of paint looks like, and Joe went through maybe 3 dropper bottles, not
I
even.
went through a couple drops. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome.
Uh,
Well, let's jump into. I know we're kind of chatting about things all over the place. Questions in chat, please put them in there. And of course, 32 people hanging out with you, Joe, on your birthday. So thanks
Thank you.
to all those people. Don't forget to wish Joe a happy 11st birthday. So let's. Does the trooper block line of sight? You know what? No. What happens is if you shoot the trooper, if you're playing against rebels, they actually have to shoot one of their own units. So it cancels a casualty every time you inflict a wound on him. So
Yeah, it's just a little house rule
yeah,
that,
it's a little house rule. It's in
Yeah.
effect. All right, Joe. Let's hop over here and let's talk about this photo that you have to share with us.
Okay, so basically that's my start of my painted
Oh,
army, but
whoops!
oh,
Didn't look. There we go. We'll
there
just
we go.
let's drag that over and not make it disappear.
So basically what I wanted to show is that's three extra droids than the most that you can fit in an army. So just ignore the three that are behind Grievous and Dooku, but that's what a full block of droids looks like. And I want to stress that the piece of terrain that's in front of them is massive. Sean, if you can go to the other picture, and
Yes, I can do that.
yeah, and you can verify this because you've seen this table, you've been to my house. So if you look at that, that's just like that piece of terrain, that pillar that they're behind is that archway the large archway in the photo, and that thing is like 2.5 feet tall.
Yes,
And
it literally is ginormous, actually.
an ATST fits very comfortably under it with like a lot of headroom. So I just wanted to point out like how large that actually is, and then when you look at the block of droids, you can really see how much space a block of bodies takes up, maybe relative to some of the other armies. And in relation to one of the things that's been brought up a lot lately, those 6 activations of naked rebels, 5 or 6 activations of naked rebels, where you're looking at 20 to 24 models, as opposed to this, 48, 45 to 48 or so that you take in these droid armies. So a lot of the philosophies you have with these droids, I think, have to differ when you're thinking about how you're playing this army. Because if you see right there, they're not so easy to hide, right? You can hide about 3/4 of them even behind that massive piece of terrain, but there's still going to be like 2 full units that are exposed. And there's also going to be, because your guys are so bunched up like that and they stick out like 6 inches, 4 or 5 inches, something like that, they can get terrain scoped as well. So you have to really pay attention to how you're moving them and how you're hiding them and what kind of formations you're making. And I think that's one of the more interesting things to start exploring and really start mastering if you're playing this army.
Obviously, Joe is showing you a pre-turn one loadout here of droids because a significant number of those will then be dead come turn two. So
Yeah.
that definitely makes. I find that on occasion when you lose a couple droids, it often actually makes your movement and your positioning a little bit more free. And I'm not saying I ever advocate
Yes.
for losing my own models, but one thing about droids that I've noticed is be very strategic with the removal of your casualties when like don't just pull droids willy nilly. Like if you have 4 or 5 stormtroopers or rebel troopers or things like that, oftentimes when you're pulling casualties, you can be a little bit more free with that. With droids, I actually find that strategically pulling out ones, either it's like, okay, I'm going to pull this one because that changes the balance of the 7-man unit. Now I have 4 in cover and 3 out, or 2 out, or what have you. Or it's, I want to get another unit leader up where this guy is right now, so let me remove this guy as a casualty, so in the next
Exactly.
activation I can put my guy up here and then have a different coherence, either left, right, or otherwise. But that's one thing I noticed about droids is you may have a tendency, because you have a lot of bodies, to just grab up whatever. But I
Hmm.
think more important than smaller units, droids become very strategic of where you're pulling them.
I completely agree. That's kind of the next point I wanted to make is I've now been trying to work on and perfect the concept of moving that many bodies through choke points and stuff in smart strategic ways, and when they take incoming fire, which models to pick up, really remembering how important it is to not cohere my heavy out in a position where it can get terrain scoped.
Right.
Because remember, the thing about getting terrain scoped is if you can only see like 2 or 3 droids, they basically don't save, and it's really easy to kill them. So where you once were able to maybe like pad a DLT with like 2 stormtroopers, be like, I'm probably gonna like save 1 or 2 or whatever before it scopes out the DLT. In this case, those droids just tend to die if they get caught in these weird angles and positions.
Right.
So it's a lot to think about. It's a lot more technical, I think, when you really start to deep dive and explore it than it appears on the surface.
Yep. I wanted to ask you too, Joe, just talking about droids specifically and tactics. What do you feel about? And I know that droids in combat aren't really good. I mean, you obviously lose the efficiency of your heavy when they're in combat. But one thing that I have
Are you
done.
talking about melee combat, right?
I'm talking, yeah, talk about melee combat.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing that I've done with some success, and I tend to use this tactic often, is I will, when I start getting low in a body count, like I will often double move a squad of 3 or 2 droids, purposefully to engage a unit that will put significant number of firepower. I'm just thinking back to a game I just had where I committed a unit of droids, maybe about 5 of them actually in this case, to a unit of death troopers, because
Hmm.
the casualty number of the death troopers in combat was far below the casualty number that I was taking when they were able to unleash. And specifically
Yes.
being at range 2 of them, if they wanted to put that pool of white dice into me, would have been a significant number. So
Yep.
how often are you employing that? Do you employ that? Do you find that's a viable tactic?
I find it's an extremely viable tactic. It was one of the first things I was really starting to think hardly about when I first saw how this faction was designed. I think, one of the things that people talk about is like, oh, we're reincorporating snow troopers back into our lists because we find that snow troopers are very anti-droid. If they're not taken care of properly, they could wreak havoc on like a CIS army. So they're now kind of a new tool or utility to start reincorporating into lists. And one of the ways to really shut down snowtroopers is to just tie them up in melee. And if they don't one-shot you completely, like for example, if snowtroopers hit your 8-man droid squad instead of an ATRT, which basically doubles the dice, you tend to see that a few droids at the very least stick around and live. Maybe it's just 1 or 2. But with that 1 or 2, you can now move and tie up that snowtrooper that just burned you and help your other squads get into a better position or get safe or move away.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that it's really important. Like, droids are throwaway units. If you can keep your activation count ahead or tied, it's not a bad idea to move those droids into melee and just lock something down. But you want to take advantage of their offensive efficiency when they're at full strength. Like like an E5C full dice pool is pretty decent with 8 droids. So I would shoot with them early when you can. Get your efficiencies out of your heavies, and once you start to take big casualties, you're always getting 2 actions with your droids, regardless of their suppression, unless they're panicked. So use those 2 actions to double move and lock stuff down. You can tarp it really well with droids, even if it's just for 1 turn. But
Yep.
sometimes that's all you need.
Um, two things real quick, Joe. We topped 40 viewers, which was awesome. So they're definitely all here because of your birthday. But then Christopher Zenga is saying that you and him had an hour-long dialogue today about snowtroopers. So was that droid related, or was that specific to snowtroopers?
We were talking how strong tank snowtrooper feels in skirmish. So
I
it's a
played
little bit
tank and
different.
skirmish.
Yeah.
I just played tank and skirmish. I felt the wrath of tank,
Yeah.
but able to pull it out on objective. Tank and skirmish, just a small aside, what I do find is that the tank and skirmish has a tendency to, if it overcommits forward, to find itself out of position for the later turns, constantly being forced to pivot. It really needs to be pillbox style, I think. Find an early position and dominate a large field of fire.
Here's the thing: skirmish tables are small. You just need to move that tank 1 time, probably position it well, and it can aim shoot the rest of the game. You combine that with like a link targeting array, it now has 2 aims in a shot. You combine that with Veers or Krennic with electro binoculars, or just Veers even with nothing, just spottering it. That's now potentially 3 aims. And now you're just like annihilating whatever you shoot at once a turn. It's not a bad tool. The ATST kind of does the same thing, but that list is very different. It's not like shooting snowtroopers forward right in your face on turn 1.
Yes.
That's what I'm getting at here. But yeah, back to droids,
Yep.
tying up the snowtroopers, that's a really strong tactic.
I think it's going to be also interesting for people, and maybe they don't know, but I'll just swap over here real quick. This table that you guys are seeing right there, we have that is a setup for skirmish style, but we have the ability to actually bring so the demonstrations, the tutorials, the tactics that we have been talking about and showing you guys with like Dooku and Rex and Grievous and Kenobi. We're actually able to bring you guys that in full 3x3 format now. So anything that you guys suggest that you want to see, if you have questions about. If you're curious about tactics, even a lot of this droid tech that we're talking about, like I said, this is very much just a off the cuff episode tonight, but we have the ability to kind of bring you guys that in an overhead view, and we're more than willing to do that. And in fact, we'll likely do that upon the release of every new unit and showing you how to incorporate new units into the old ones, what we think they're going to be strong at, and so we'll do that with each release coming up. So
Awesome. All right, so anything else about droids? You want to talk kind of about a little bit about how you move them, what your strategy is? What are you taking any extra upgrades, like some unreleased security droids or the droids to try to help you with that movement? You have any thoughts or anything?
Well, my thought is that I'm looking to. I really like the appeal of the radiation cannon. I think that poison is going to be super strong in skirmish. I'm also liking the idea of, I think it's security droid that allows you to negate the AI attack. And so
Yes.
So one of the things is I find that an uplink in anything but the rocket seems like an overcommitment to the recover action. And so I don't find there's great efficiencies if the E5C units have the HQ uplink. I just think the points aren't necessarily spent appropriately. So my idea with
I agree.
the radiation cannons is that I think they're really going to suffer from any AI attack forced
Yep.
turns. So the ability to maybe get around that. There's some potential. Now, I don't think you can get both in the same squad, though, because I think they occupy the same slot, do they not? Or can you get the... Do you got I just
What was
want.
that?
Can you get this? I don't think you can get the radiation cannon, or actually, can you get the radiation cannon and the security droid in the same slot? I think you can, or
You
same
can,
unit.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. Because that's
One's a
right. One's
personnel and
that's
one's a
right.
heavy weapon.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a brain fart there for a second.
So
So,
yeah, basically, I agree with what you're saying, and I that's the exact thing I've been thinking of. So I've been thinking, well, when we get these new heavies, right? We now have four options for heavy weapons. They're all very similarly costed at the end of the day. Um, so I like the idea of running two poison cannons, two radiation cannons in a list with two security droids as like a frontline force. I feel like if you're going to push forward and kind of expose your B1s, that's going to be the squad that you want to have 8 bodies instead of 7.
mhm.
And I've been trying to build some lists with the stuff that's available and trying to see how much I can get out of my points, and knowing that like the tank's going to be expensive and our two commanders are kind of expensive. And really, I've been trying to come up with kind of a hodgepodge of like 2, 2, and 2 or 4 and 2 of sets of heavies. And you don't always have to go 8-man, or you can't really always afford to. So kind of my long range ranged 4 stuff, if I'm putting in the rifle that has critical or the rocket, I'm okay with keeping that as a 7-man squad.
Yep.
But these frontline radiation cannon guys, I really like them with the security droid. That way, if tauntauns are close, something with comms jammers close, you could just forego worrying about that AI attack and still move attack or something if you wanted to improve your position.
Right.
Or attack retreat or like aim attack or dodge attack or something. It gives you more options. So.
Yeah, there's a question too that we'll get to in a second. Yeah, my main thought is that radiation cannon is an investment, and it's an investment that you're banking on. You want to put that poison counter on something. So anytime that you'd be forced to not use your range 2 weapons, or be forced to shoot a couple white dice at range 3, that's really a bad spot, a bad investment, if you will, for that unit. So David has a question here about Droidicas. He said he had a scenario on Sunday where his Droidica was engaged with a Tauntaun, I'm assuming in melee. Is the only option for the Droidica in melee to withdraw? It's the only option for the Droidica. I think he's assuming that.
Actually, no. So Droidicas are ground vehicles.
Yeah.
Therefore, they cannot actually be engaged ever with Tauntauns.
Right.
Tauntauns can crash into them and melee them, but they're not actually engaged in the way that a trooper unit would be engaged. And I think that's a common misconception with Droidicas, because to me, they feel like a trooper unit, but they're not. They're technically a ground vehicle by designation. So they follow a slightly different rule set.
Yeah, I think that maybe further to the question, if I can dive into it, I think that he was asking about potentially what is his course of action in terms of being able to fight the Tauntaun. In that case, no melee weapon on the Droidica, but he can freely disengage, if you will, basically move out of base contact and still shoot.
Back
shoot
up
the
speed 1 or something like that. Yeah.
And shoot. So I think chat was maybe handling some of that too, but I just wanted to make sure we acknowledge David's question there. So,
no, that's a great question, and it's a common misconception. And actually, the nice thing about the fact that they're not engaged is that your troopers can continue to shoot at those Tauntauns. Or I'm sorry, your troopers can continue to shoot at those Tauntauns while your Droidicas are simultaneously kind of blocking them and keeping them pinned there in a way.
Yeah,
so there's an interesting play.
We got an awesome chat here. They're handling most of it, but Chris is pointing out too that Droidicas and Tauntauns effectively are stuck once they make contact. Neither one can move through the other one. So
true, but you can always reposition or pivot, right?
Yes.
So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
You can't, but it's possible to kind of surround them or block them in weird ways. It's just something you have to find.
I've actually used choke points with running Grievous with the double Droidicas, running 2 Droidica units basically abreast, keeping them wide enough that a Tauntaun base can't fit through, and walking my droids up behind. So just really keeping my droids from getting crushed by Tauntauns, dropping fire on them. Meanwhile, the Droidicas are up front, soaking up things with their shields, providing light cover to the troopers behind. It's a really clever tactic to kind of walk up behind that bubble shield wall, if you will. So. A question coming in from Dylan here as
I
well,
agree.
asking if vehicles can move through creature troopers.
Um,
I
I
don't think
don't think so.
anything can move through them.
Uh,
Yeah. So you and I were talking the other day about Dooku Grievous, Dooku Solo, Grievous Solo, playing droids now. You've been playing Dooku Grievous for a bit. Um,
mhm.
are you feeling that that 8 activation double commander list is about as efficient as you can get? Do you think there's place to bring the droidicas back in and go single commander?
Mhm.
Where are you at?
I actually think that the best list in the game right now for that faction is Dooku 2 Droideka's 6B1s. But I like Dooku Grievous.
Mm-hmm.
I just enjoy it. It's just hilarious to me. It's tough. It's tricky. It can get shut down by very specific things pretty easily. It's not an all comers list. It's maybe not the most like high level meta list, but it can win games and it's fun.
Yeah,
I enjoy. Yeah.
if you like wrecking a lot of things, and maybe you're
Mhm.
going to lose on the objective game, maybe
Right.
you're going to, and I think you're generally going to keep it tight because your B1s are going to stick around and probably score you points or tie points. It may come
Mhm.
down to those last few turns, but um, and LJ's chiming in here with represent double the fall. The the droideka army, the droid army with Grievous Dooku just feels very smashy. So
Oh yeah.
if you like that and you enjoy that and you don't really care about outcome, and you
Mhm.
just want to have a fun game and be a wrecking ball, you got two massive units. You got an early one
There,
in Grievous and you got a late one in Dooku.
all I'm saying is in testing that list, I tabled multiple people with it. However, I've watched it just completely fall apart too. So it's very specific, but Sean's exactly right. It could be a total wrecking ball to certain lists. I think it gets even more ridiculous when we can put like two poisons in it. Like
Yeah,
that's my thing. Like you run two poisons next to Dooku, who has a steam leader, and it's a health pool for Dooku, and it's like the most devastating range two to range three threat. If you want to area deny, those three together pretty much can hold it down.
yeah.
I
I
think.
I have been using aggressive tactics on Dooku in skirmish a lot, but I think that my next run of testing here, I really think that a Steam leader is beneficial on Dooku in skirmish format. I feel the body weight of the droids is enough to carry them through. I don't find that the surge is very significant one way or the other, the single surge. I think over the course of 6 turns, bigger activations, more preservation required, I think that it would pay dividends for sure. But the prospect of losing Dooku before the end of the game in skirmish is really bad. I have lost a couple games in skirmish, and that's exactly it. Dooku ate three
Yeah.
wounds to start the game. Dooku dropped in turn 3, but anytime
Hmm.
he's survived to the end, it's a win. Anytime he's
Yep.
dropped, it's pretty much a loss. Because I think, I call it like caving in like a Kmart coffee table. Once you lose Dooku, it's all over.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's very true. So you have to be very careful with how you play him.
Yeah.
He can get picked off the table in turn two if you put him in a bad spot. I've seen it.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally. I agree completely. And that's why I think a Steam leader has a decent value in his lists. I don't think it's mandatory, but I think it's a certain play style that does work effectively.
Right.
Hmm.
So let's just say outside of droids,
Hmm.
and outside of skirmish, what else have you either been playing or seen that's kind of caught your eye as being like a either interesting, tough, or appealing list for you?
Okay, so what do I think is tough? I will start with saying several rebel lists right now. And here's why. We've talked about the tauntauns ad nauseum. I won't even bring them up. I think rotaries are just as awesome in many ways if used effectively, and the things that you can do with Extremely cheap activations with extremely cheap repair droids, and the ability to preserve rotaries and do stuff with them is awesome. The one thing I have seen in a TTS like test game that I played recently against Paul, um, using some of the unreleased stuff, was that Operative Luke, is extremely powerful and extremely strong at like shutting down Courage 2 units like Grievous. Chases them around in Jedi mind tricks and plays a range game with them and is super defensive with all his tricks. And he could lock out a character like Han or lock out a character like Grievous pretty well. Um, so I think that is a scary, strong new profile that's going to be in our hands like in the next week or two. That's something to keep an eye out for. The other thing I've been seeing is really efficient, strong use of Ion coming back.
Okay.
Both from the Rebels and some Bark Speeder stuff I've been seeing people do. I was hating on the Bark Speeders for a long time, but I've been seeing some people run Rex triple Barks, and I was like, okay. Those lists pack a punch. They're certainly doing some work. It took a little time for us, to get a hang of them and kind of figure them out. And watching what some people are doing with them is impressive to me right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not playing clones at all, but I kind of just want to have a couple 22 dice shots at something.
Yes.
That feels good. That feels good. I think I need a bigger dice tray on the table to throw 22 dice. So
some guy posted on Facebook today, and I apologize that I don't remember his name, but he was like, his question was like, I'm a new player and I like to throw big dice pools and I like to see how much damage I can do and I like to try to quote unquote break the game. What faction should I play? And I was like, well, probably clones, because some of those fire support dice pools can get ridiculously big.
Yep.
And it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun and funny to do stuff like that from time to time.
I haven't played clones in a little while, but we did see Skirmish Game Friday. Clones made an appearance. Mm-hmm. Played some Rebels. I don't know what we're gonna have this week here on stream, but hopefully we'll have some stuff. We've been having some players play either tank or ATST here in the studio as well. And so in skirmish format, that's good. However, you and I were talking about like ATST. I was talking about an ATST Veers Bosk list. And not having played Bosk in a while, loving the ATSTs, one of my favorite units in the game. And Veers, I think, is one of the most cost efficient commanders in the game for what he does. And you can bulk him out a little bit with electro binoculars, and really getting 3 aims out a turn is pretty decent. But I've seen some resurgence of the ATST back here, and I don't know. Do you think it's just because of the points break, or do you think it's because the prevalence of other units? Do you think that big fire pool is strong against? We're seeing bigger units. We're seeing maybe. Maybe we're seeing more vehicles. I'm not sure. Is it counter melee? What do you think is the reason we see so many ATSTs coming back on the table?
Okay, I have a couple of theories on that. One, I think it's finally appropriately costed for what it's doing, but also what it's doing well now is significantly more efficient than what it was doing, the best it was doing maybe like 6 months ago. And the reason that I believe that to be the case is because I think it's really easy right now for an ATST to end up with like 2 to 4 aims in a turn. If you think about it, it can take link targeting array. It can take an aim action. It can get handed an aim by like a Veers spotter or a Krennic with electro binoculars, or anything that has electro binoculars. On a coordinated fire turn, it can get past an aim or two. Not to mention you have all the order control that's coming from the shore troopers and their survivability with aggressive tactics. And now you've presented this big armored high health threat along with your super efficient gun line, and it just becomes a whole bunch to deal with, and it's really strong and really devastating. And when you can take like a 9 dice pool and re-roll it 3 to 4 times with surges, you tend to get these high net results to make your opponent roll a lot of saves. And because of its height and its range, it can see over a lot of terrain that provides cover. So now you're taking these like out of cover shots with like 7 to 9 successes, and it doesn't like to die unless you really commit a lot of resources to it. It's a big threat on the table. And I think before it wasn't as fast and efficient at getting all those aims, and it was a little more expensive, and it was like, maybe this isn't worth it. But now I think it's super strong.
Yeah, I'm just responding to a couple things in chat here. Here's one from Chris, if you want to have a look at this. It says, that's why you don't take comms jammer, so you can't give out orders to fire support. So he was referencing in chat, Bob was saying that he melted a couple Tauntaun units in a game earlier this week with 22 dice fire support shots. So, yeah.
It'll do it. It'll certainly do it. And if you can catch them before they get their dodge tokens, it's even more strong. So, but I agree with that. I mean, that is a totally valid reason to take comms jammer. It does shut down a lot of those fire support plays. It's one of the reasons why Tauntauns just continue to be very strong, because, they're fast and they have comms jammer. They have a whole bunch of tools. But yeah, comms jammer is a valuable upgrade on a lot of units for that reason. I agree.
Do you? And I'll give my opinion here. I think that I underestimated the speed at which I thought, and by underestimate, I mean I think I was wrong in my prediction. I thought we were going to see more impact quicker on the table now. Like, we're seeing ATSTs, we're seeing some tanks come in. We know that armor is going to be prevalent, even with dewbacks being played. I thought we were going to see the impact race increase a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. I know what it is. It's the critical race now.
Yeah, that is fair. So I guess you're trying to hedge your bets that you're going to be maybe not paying as much for critical as you are for impact, and maybe they're just a little bit more valuable. In cover and things like that.
Yes, it has a lot. It's like you get less of it, right? If you go pure impact, you're gonna push maximum amount of like hits through into free crits against armor specifically. But when you go critical, you still have like a decent chance to roll a crit or two at a vehicle, but that also goes through cover, and it's good at like picking off that lone unit leader that's behind a barricade. Like, I'll just fix into a crit for free real quick and make you roll a save. It flexes more and is good for every situation.
Yeah.
As opposed to impact, which is good specifically against armor. But when it's good, it's really good.
Yes, I agree.
That's why I like to build. I put 2 rockets in my droid lists now. I think it's just, you need kind of variety, and having impact 4 plus lightsabers in that list is pretty good.
Yeah, me too. I've been kind of back and forth on, like, I like the rockets for the versatility. So if you run into RTs or you run into an ATSD, if you want to go in, I'd find 2 rockets is not enough to dedicate to bring an ATSD down. So I tend to still just use them for putting in dice to the dice pool. They're more efficient dice than white, obviously. Where do you land on the balance of, let's just say you're going to take 6 droids? What is your loadout going to look like? Are you going to take the long range weapon? Are you taking radiation cannons? You going E5Cs, rockets? What do you envision kind of your optimal loadout being? And let's just say you're going into an LVO, and so you're going to face all kinds of things.
Fair. I think if LVOs today, you only have 2 options.
Yeah.
You go 4 E5Cs, 2 rockets, right? It's like standard build.
Let's say everything's out. Everything's out.
Everything's out, right?
Yeah.
I like 2 radiation cannons and 4 sniper rifles with critical. I like 2 radiation cannons, 2 to two snipers and two E5Cs. Um, I the reason I drop the rockets and go to the rifles is because I think I can still do the same amount of work to ATRTs with the rifles, but they flex a little bit more, like I said before, like I was explaining. But also, I hate the situation that you can potentially find yourself in with the rocket, where you have to double move to get safe or something, and then you can't refresh your rocket.
Yeah.
I've found myself in that situation in a game or two before, um, and I just hate dealing with weapons that have to be refreshed until there's some sort of way to refresh things for free, like a command card or something like Veers has, right? Where
Yep.
you can like burn some stuff and then get it back for free on the next turn, even though you had to reposition or not take a recover action. So without that, as much as I love the Rockets right now and they're working for now, I think I swap them out. That's just me.
Yeah.
Unless like armor stays ridiculous and becomes super popular, and then there's totally a good reason to play, multiple rockets again. And I painted up all of them, so I probably will never run six. But there might be a day where 2 to 3 is like totally a thing.
I think truthfully for me, my like anti armor is going to be in my armor.
Yeah,
You know what I
there's
mean?
there's a
So I
lot of typically in your armor.
right. So that's going to be kind of the replacement for rockets for me, or the reason that would be replaced. I kind of I think I might even go as far as maybe trying to experiment with, depending on which commander I'm running, because Grievous is very much upfront and personal, and so is Dooku. But at different times of the game, I find one's maybe more early, one's late. But if you're running Dooku, I can almost see a case where you spend a couple turns getting your E5 or your radiation cannons into position. I'm talking like a turn or two at most, and then making that big like turn 3 through 6 push where you bring out 4 radiation cannons,
Yep.
as well as Dooku. You're presenting so many points of attack, so, like a
Yep.
multi-front attack, and I also think that those poison wounds, turns 4 through 6, when you maybe have some attrition, is really going to start paying off in terms of activation kills, and then it might actually make
Yes.
your opponent maybe rethink strategy, or maybe withdraw a little bit, or maybe make the safe play as opposed to the aggressive play on your droids. And if you can bring weight of bodies, your activation preservation is going to be within those bodies. So obviously diminishing returns in terms of shooting back at you, and then diminishing even further if you get those radiation poison tokens on. So
One thing I want to note about what you just said, that's a good point, but it's something to keep in mind. Just remember the way poison works, and just remember that poison strangely loses a lot of value in turn six
right.
because it takes their next activation to deal its damage. So if it's turn six and they've already activated, you just lose that effect.
Yes.
So I think you want to make that explosive play if you're going to do that, maybe like turn four, but that's a really strong play.
Yes, and when I talk about kind of turns 4 through 6, I'm saying you're making the play to push. Obviously you have to push objectives, all that other thing, right? So bringing weight of bodies. I think that there's a real important 1-2 combo as well with
Yep.
poison and force choke,
Oh
where you
yeah,
where you can
yeah,
reduce a unit seemingly from 3 bodies. Let's say you put a poison wound through, you get the wound, you get the poison token, and you do the choke. You actually choke out, and then the activation dies at its next activation. So whatever it
yep,
does with that single body or 2 bodies is really negligible, because you're going to do
right,
something and it's basically going to disappear. So it can't
yep,
move to like tie you up. It can't move to contest an objective because it disappears
hmm
at the end of that activation. So I think
yep.
there's also heavy potential there, with choke and radiation being a nice way to kind of trim out two bodies that have no saves attached to them.
Totally. You know what I was testing out on TTS, because obviously we don't have the physical model in hand. And I don't know, we're going to assume that the proportions of the tank on TTS are accurate, but we don't know that for sure yet until we get the model in hand. But one thing I noticed is like you can put 2 activations worth of poison droids behind a tank, and they're completely out of line of sight. And you can also fit Dooku back there. So
Front
if
on,
you
you mean, right? Like a
yeah,
front
like
on, yeah.
if you look front on and you put them directly behind it, they are actually completely blocked from line of sight. So if you want to push some poisons as Dooku forward, you can use the tank as like a shield wall to do that. And to me, that's just awesome. Swing the poisons out from around the side and just blast stuff.
I mean,
It's it's a
if
good
you're
way to assault a key position.
I, if you're harking back to some World War II tactics, it's exactly what happened. You
Yes.
put your platoon, you put your squad of guys right behind the tank. You advance under that, the cover of the massive piece of metal, and then you flank out when you're in a position. And just the cinematics of that is also exceptionally cool.
And Dooku and poisons, that's a good assaulting force, I think. So
Yeah, I'm really loving droids. I think droids are going to be. I'm not particularly interested in, or I'm not going to be disappointed. However, if I don't have an amazing showing at Worlds, what happened to my camera? There we go. Hello, let me focus back here. Yeah, there I am. But I think just for the sheer enjoyment of being able to put a tank on the table in one of the early big events kind of thing, because I'm
yes.
going to think that tank's going to be fairly close to Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
That's just going to look awesome.
I'm right there
I'm
with you,
all
man.
I'm all about bringing some snow droids to Adepticon. I'm all about bringing a snow covered tank. I'm all about that. I think it will be a fun unit. Will it be optimal right out of the? Will it be like an S tier? Probably not.
Probably not.
Definitely not. Piloted by me, definitely not. But it'll be fun.
Who's
That
to say
tank's
it's
going to be
not?
devastating. Yeah, I know
Who's to
for
say
sure.
it's not. No.
Yeah,
So
a
yeah,
double.
no, that'll be good. So you're pretty much confirming right now, Sean Morris, Droids at Worlds.
Droids at Worlds, snow
All
covered
right.
bases.
You heard
Yeah.
everyone tech ion and flamethrowers and a bunch of impacts.
You could probably just bring a skirmish level list against my 800 and do perfectly fine. So, perfectly fine. Yeah, I build Death Stars. I don't build commanding lists. So there's
It's
something.
okay.
Hey,
It's okay. You're gonna have one of the best looking armies there. I wouldn't be surprised. So
well that'll be something. So, and I can't wait to get the snow droids on the snow table that we got going on here too. By the way, we got a couple more tables that we're gonna do. So now we got this studio project done, we're gonna hard shift over into getting a couple sets of skirmish tables done up here so you guys don't have to look at snow terrain every time. So, and then we also got the big Kashyyyk build. I'm just looking at this and I'm just envisioning that Kashyyyk tree being like just shy of the top of the bottom of those light fins. So we'll probably have to do a little bit of finagling with the camera to make sure that we can penetrate the canopy and get down to the table surface. So that'll be cool. So the canopy will actually be removable on the tree, so you guys will be able to see the whole thing. So
yep.
yeah,
Awesome. Oh man, that's gonna be good.
yeah. As soon as I get off this stream, Joe's going to be. Here's a. As soon as I get off this stream, Joe's going to be messaging me and asking me where the Kashyyyk build's at and if I'm going to get on it. So
Yeah.
he's like,
You're like, what, you just built a Death Star? Back to work.
exactly, yeah. Time to hire some more. I can't wait till my daughter's older. She's 10 months old, so I got a little while to wait. But she'll be working in the studio for sure.
We're just gonna train her in the droid school of training.
Yeah.
And she'll just be a workhorse.
Peter's asking where our studio. So Peter, this is our Canadian Legion Academy location. And Joe's in our Chicago Legion Academy location. So Joe's got his own studio in development in Chicagoland. So
got a nice table that just was built. We've got some terrain set up. We're getting some tripods and some lights and other stuff too. And we should have like 2 studios. We should be able to be putting out multiple games per week would be ideal. And bring in friends from both locations, and incorporate a lot of the community, a lot of our friends come over and play, show up on the stream and stuff. So.
I'm pretty sure if you were to open those blinds right now, Al Paz would be over your shoulder because he heard there's an RPQ there.
Yeah, he's like, oh, there's a tournament. What's the prize support? Oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Al's on location, so Al Paz, friend of the show. For sure. I'm half tempted just to tell Al we got something going on here because he'll show up. So he'll be knocking at the blast door trying to get in. So good old Al. Good old Al.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if we have no more comments in there, we hung out with like more than 20 people all night tonight, so that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
Thank
like,
you all so much for the birthday wishes and for hanging out with us tonight.
yeah,
Really
we
appreciate it.
totally appreciate that. We'll have lots more. Obviously, this was just our reveal tonight, but we'll have lots more cause to kind of bring you some stuff from the studio. As I said, Friday around 7 p.m. Central, we'll have another game. So we'll do a full up skirmish. Joe and I will also have some guest commentators on as well. So this Friday was really fun. We had myself, Joe, Paul, and Chris. Yeah.
Paul Watson.
Yeah, both came in. So all four of us were kind of chatting game and chatting Legion the whole time. So we do encourage you guys to come hang out with us Friday. If you're interested in jumping on and kind of co-casting us with us, just reach out to us on Legion Academy. We can help you guys out there in terms of maybe coordinating something. You guys can come on and help us out. Nothing wrong with that. Occasionally I'll be probably playing under there, so you guys can check out how awesome my skills are. And we'll I mean that facetiously, but we'll definitely bring you guys lots of different players. As I said, new players, new lists, and new styles. So it's good. Sometimes it's it's interesting to watching the same people put in reps, but it's also interesting to watch people play either things you play or things that you think you know how to play, and they play them entirely different. So different tactics, different ways to see models move around on the table. It's also just fun seeing models move around on the table. So I look forward to Friday. We're going to keep that very regular, so you guys will see, if you guys can bear with us, you'll see us twice a week on the regular podcast, probably coming at you Tuesdays. Monday today was just a special here for Joe, but we'll probably stick to Tuesdays and Fridays, and we'll get some stuff out for you guys. Getting some great show, guys. Happy birthday wishes coming in to Joe here.
Thanks,
some
everyone.
more. Yeah, Chris coming in with the clones decimated rebels. Yes, they did, Chris. Yes, they did. But I know Chris, who played here, was not visibly upset, but I know he was disappointed in his dice for sure. I was disappointed in the dice.
Hey, it happens, man. Sometimes you just roll cold for a night. I've been there.
Yeah,
I've been there
for sure. Me too. We've all been on the end of that. So, if anything else, it's motivation for him to get back down to the studio to redeem himself. Get validation for the fact that his rebels did amazing the game before that wasn't on stream. Of course, it's always the way, right? So, it's a stream curse for me. I was rocking my droids and Dooku, and last couple of games I've just been getting trounced with them too. So it happens. But I'm gonna look to get at least a game in before LVO, because I'd like to kind of get some reps in. It's skirmish, I know, but we'll definitely get some skirmish in, and then probably post. I don't know if post LVO before Adepticon or not, but probably around the February-March we'll hard shift over. We'll move back to the full 800. I mean, I want to field a couple tanks, and I can't do that at 500. So selfishly, we'll be switching over to 6x3 and running full 800 point list, just so you guys can get that. So we'll have to build up some unique terrain, and we'll try to bring you guys a new table every couple months here in the studio as well. So yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right.
Well, happy 11th birthday, Joe.
Thank you. And thanks everyone again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll catch you guys on Friday. So thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you guys. Cheers.
See you Friday.